Hello, Jordanna, founder of Modern Day Sorcerer here. In this Becoming series video, it always amazes me how frequently and conveniently, for better or for worse, our Sorcerer School sessions, when I facilitate Sorcerer School sessions, how much they show up in my life and create next levels of the transformation I'm facilitating for others in my own life. This week, we worked with layers of perception around our personality. So the idea behind that is that we've got these pieces of our identity and these things that we consider qualities or characteristics of our personality. Like if someone were to describe you, listing what's your personality like, what they might put down on paper. If you were to describe your own personality, what characteristics or qualities or even behaviors you might put down on paper, and that would be your personality, right? Yet it's very, very common. In fact, well, no, it's not just common. It's like all of us. It's human that within what we perceive and conceive to be who we really are and our personality characteristics, there's always layers covering up the truth of who we really are, where we're actually protecting ourselves. So to give you an example, I have always had a loud voice. I've always projected. I've always had big energy. But when I was growing up, I perceived myself as big and loud in ways that I would refer to as personality, and so would others, oftentimes lovingly about me. Oh, that's Jordanna the actress, or that's Jordanna the one who we can always choose to present the class project in school because she'll speak up. So it was, though it was loved, I considered it part of my personality, but I continued to doubt it at times. And as much as it was loved, there were always those little areas where I noticed others judging it, or I wondered if others were judging it because I was judging it in myself. And it wasn't until many years later that I started to come home to new levels of who I really am, like in an internal sort of landing in my own self, like beyond what I perceived to be wholeness. There was this whole other landing of like, oh, I live in here now. There's no more outward projection, like really feeling like it's like the way I would describe when you know that you are God or that you are source energy. It's like this full landing, and that in yourself is the best way to describe it. So inside of that, I eventually, when I landed, started to realize that the personality of loud and big Jordanna was actually, on a lot of levels, a cover-up of the girl who wanted to be loved and didn't think she was loved, or the girl who was seeking attention in certain ways, the girl who wanted to shock people, or the girl who just felt like she needed to get herself out there to receive love. And there were a lot of layers around that, all pretty much having to do with love, as they so often do, right? So this week in Sorcerer School, we had a session and facilitated actually a ceremony of releasing the layers of personality that have been surrounding us to protect us, that we were feeling we're ready to let go. It was, something that everyone came to completion with an awareness of because of the session. Like, so the session facilitated them into having awareness of what was ready to let go. So within me, there was an area where I wasn't entirely shocked. I've been having some struggles with one team member in particular who I love to pieces, and she's been with me for a very long time, and we're very, very close. And we sometimes struggle in not feeling like we're seeing eye to eye in her role and what I desire of her role and what she desires of her role. it's really, really important inside of Team MDS that everyone be doing work that they really love and that they're choosing. The idea in MDS, because we're a company that facilitates people that we work with becoming next level leaders, we've realized that inside of the company we all have to be leaders. So everyone on the team, though I am the leader, everyone is a leader of their own role. So with this particular team member, we've had some struggles as we've continued to hone and fine tune what her desired role was, what I desired, what felt like the right value exchange for us. And we hit a new level this week that I realized was actually a layer of personality for me to peel away. And I wanted to bring to you guys because it's one that I've been noticing in leadership in general. So as leaders, we so often perceive that, I say that a lot, so often. That's curious. So as leaders, we often perceive that it's true that in order to communicate to those that we're here to serve or those that we're here to lead, we must speak from the heart and we must speak from that space of alignment of our true selves. But I've been noticing that for me, and this is totally just a thing that a lot of leaders have, that there can also still be these barriers of trying to protect our own truth or our deep knowing as we desire to express it. And how does this want to be described? So it's like, this is a complicated one. Like this is one that's like not easy to put into words. It's more of a feeling. But it felt so important to voice and to bring to all of our leaders in the modern day sorcerer community. So it feels like this feeling of wanting so badly for the truth inside of us that we're expressing to the world to be well received, that we protect it, which is kind of a common thing that we do with our deep knowing anyway, right? But it feels like this extra layer where we're like, well, it'll land on the right people. Well, if it doesn't land, it doesn't matter. Like almost this protection of like, if they don't get me, just let them go. But there's this new layer of like, well, what if that's actually just protection? What if that idea of just let them go is just protection? And we can lift away the armor a little bit more. And we can open up our hearts a little bit wider. And we can attune to the subtleties of how that person's feeling and of what that person may need to hear or to know or to receive from us in order for what we speak and what we voice and what we bring forward as a leader and how we're leading to actually show up more in relation to what they need first and foremost. So what if as leaders we think that our truest expression, it's like there is a feeling of alignment that is our truest expression, but what if it's not only this feeling of alignment in the self? And what if true expression as a leader is actually a dual feeling of alignment? First, and I'm almost wondering, like, this is truly a question I'm walking in as I present this. Like, it's like, what if the alignment is actually inside of the people that we're leading, the community or the group or the individual that we're supporting and serving in that moment? And we want to feel what's in alignment for them first, and then bring that back to our hearts, match it up with what's in our hearts and what we know and our version of truth and what feels right for us. So to repeat that, like finding the feeling of what feels to be in alignment for them first. And I don't just mean alignment, like ultimately alignment for them is the truth, but they may actually not even be there yet. Like this person or community that we're leading could be in fear. They could be in some sort of a space that has them not able to see what we can see. But what if we can come into alignment with what feels true for them in the moment, bring it over to what is true for us in the moment, and then communicate from that space? Like, could we actually speak our own language and their language at the exact same time? And that's, the guidance that I keep getting with this team member is that I wasn't speaking her language, that there was no right or wrong. I can feel it. I can fervently feel in my bones that she and I both, and it's funny, like this is something that's actually in progress. Like I still have to go get some clarity on it and connect with her to discuss it further. So it's very raw for me to be sharing something that's in process in Team MDS publicly, but it really feels right because it's like that awareness that we're not always, when we feel any sort of a disconnect, that there's layers of protection around us. And we have true and total, as leaders, a fully embodied leader has the capacity to take personal responsibility, like 100% personal responsibility above and beyond anything else. So it doesn't matter what's going on with the other person. It doesn't matter trying to get them to speak our language. What matters is that we can take responsibility for how we can show up as powerful leaders. And so what if a big piece of that is removing our layers of where we have our heart closed, removing our armor, and actually learning to speak other people's languages, learning to feel what's in alignment with them. One of the reasons we don't sometimes want to feel what's in alignment with the other person is it could be that it's where we've been before. Like, oh, they're living where I used to live. Their perception is what I used to perceive, but now I know better. Well, all that is, though, the fear of going back there, all that is our psyche afraid we're going to backslide. But if we're really an embodied leader, we can't backslide. Even on the days it feels like we are, we're just cleaning out the closets. We're not actually backsliding. It's physically impossible with real cellular level shifts as leaders. So as humans. So what if it's actually our responsibility in leadership to completely lift away our armor and learn to speak the language of other people? So that's that. Feels like really powerful stuff. Like it feels like something that I invite you guys to, I invite all of us to comment below what your experience is with this, to comment below like what questions you might have too, and just begin a conversation, because this learning to speak others' language, like there's a lot of layers of protection around that have to happen. I've noticed that even all the travel I do, speaking other languages, learning to speak new languages in new countries, layers of protection have to let go. So it's, when we're talking soul language and like subtlety of feeling language, it goes deeper and deeper and deeper. So let's start a conversation about it too. That's that. Don't forget to subscribe, and all my love.